Hey, fam. All right, so today is Matthew 27, Mark 15. Sorry about that. Mark 15, Luke 23, and John 19. The event that these passages all focus on is the crucifixion. And so I would be remiss if I did not point out the fact that last night was the night that former president and current, what's the word, like first place, whatever, candidate for president for the Republican Party in the year 2024 was shot. There was an attempted assassination of him as he was doing a rally in Pennsylvania. Uh, and as you know now, that he's fine. His right ear was grazed by a sniper who shot at him from a rooftop at about 100 to 140 yards away. And of course, last night and this morning, that is the talk of the town, right? I mean, everybody, and for rightly so, a former president and a leading candidate. Next week, they're going to go into the convention, the Republican convention, where they choose officially a candidate. So this person, there was an attempted assassination on him. It's a big deal politically and in American history. It's something that will literally be talked about throughout the rest of history when American history is discussed, presidential history and all that. Interestingly, though, God brought me to the passages in Scripture today as I'm reading through the Bible in a year. All 365 days just happens to fall on today. Last night, there was an attempted assassination of President Trump. This morning, I read about the assassination of Jesus Christ. And the differences obviously cannot be more stark. It is important, obviously, like I just mentioned, historically and policy-wise, and in many ways, the attempted assassination of Donald Trump. But that pales in comparison to the assassination of Jesus. Often, when we read about the crucifixion, it's sobering, and we think about the torture that he went through, the mocking, the agony of the cross itself, the despondency of the people around him, the despair that just days ago they thought that this man came riding in and he was going to be their king. And now he's on a cross, dying, ultimately dies, and was buried. But when I was reading it this morning, what struck me was the points of light. And in particular, some of the people that were kind of make cameo appearances, if you will, in this event, if it were a movie or something. And one of them I'll just bring up first, just in passing, was Pilate's wife. Pilate's wife told him, have nothing to do with this man. I just had a dream. Last night I had a dream about this. And she warned her husband to just not have anything to do with the crucifixion of Jesus, the trial of Jesus. And yet he persisted. The centurion, the guard who was guarding the cross um, after Jesus died, he said, "Truly, this is a righteous man. Truly, this is the Son of God." From a Roman soldier who was guarding the body of Jesus as he was crucified. And then, two, though, that always stick in my mind. One, I think we talk about a lot, Joseph of Arimathea. He was an influential man in the town, Jewish man, wealthy man, and he asked Pilate if he could have Jesus' body so that he could give him a proper burial. And he was granted that. And so Joseph takes Jesus' body, lays him in his own tomb that he had apparently recently carved out of the rocks there for his own burial, and gives that to Jesus. Um, that the one that always sticks in my mind when I read through this is Simon of Cyrene. And I think this is the only time we hear about this guy. And we don't know anything about him other than where he's from and what his first name is. Actually, I think in Mark, it gives us a little bit of his lineage, if I remember correctly. I think it shares who his father and grandfather are. Um, but he was just in the crowd, right? Passing by or walking by or watching as Jesus was bearing his cross, literally carrying his cross to be crucified, and could not sustain that weight because of the beating and the torture that he had already been through. They grab Simon and make Simon carry Jesus' cross. And I just always think, what an amazing honor and privilege for this man to be the person that God had chosen to literally carry the cross of Jesus. And boy, he's one of the guys that when I get to heaven, I want to talk with him and find out, man, what was it about your life where God gave you that honor? What an amazing thing. Well, I think just the thought for me to wrapping this up is just that I want to live a life, and I hope that you live a life to such a point where God would entrust you, that he would entrust me with such an honor. And in some way, he already has, even though we probably have not lived a life worthy of that, because he's entrusted us with this story, with the gospel. And as I finish my reading today, Jesus was crucified, died, and is lying buried in a sealed tomb.